Hey y'all, thanks for watching. So, with it being Christmas, or right at the end of the day, it's about 11:29 here according to the clock. Uh, I want to talk about stuff that's being said in the news, and it being the holiday season and all. It pertains to it. Now, evangelicals' support of Trump. I don't understand it. I don't mind telling you, I do not understand it at all. Being that I was raised in the church and I've raised my children in the church, we're Christians. We're not Catholic. We're Protestants. But I don't understand how Rick Perry can sit there and purport to know the will of God by saying that Trump was sent here by him. Rick Perry, prophet that I don't know of. Somebody want to alert the Pope that Rick Perry's a prophet of the Lord? No? No? Okay. What about this Barry Loudermilk fella, who's a House Republican from Georgia, got up and said that Pontius Pilate afforded more rights to Jesus than Democrats have afforded the president in this process. Do you really compare a political process to the sacrifice of Jesus, to the crucifixion of the one and only Son of God? Are you really that just self-involved and blasphemous? And there's still people who claim to be evangelicals, which is just a fancy way of saying Bible thumper or birth of better than you. People who think that they live a little more stricter by the Bible, so they're better than other folks. Whatever. Claim to be Christians. You'll support a man who does not represent in any way any kind of godliness, in any way any Christian value. Man who has no humility whatsoever. Everything's perfect. Everything's good. He's the best. I remember the first Bible scripture I was ever taught. The preacher came out to our house when I was 6 years old. We lived in Georgia at the time. And come out for my birthday, brought me a Bible, and underlined the passage he wanted me to recite during that week's service. And he explained to me what that verse was about, and the story that it pertained to, and why he was going to be preaching about it. Now that verse is Matthew 19:17, which is chapter 19, verse 17. And he said unto him, Why dost thou callest me good? For there is none that is good but one, and that is God. And if you wish to enter into life, keep the commandments. Now, you've all heard the story about the rich man talking to Jesus. He comes to him and says, Rabbi, tell me, how can I enter into the kingdom of heaven? And he says, what I just said. Why do you call me good? Keep the commandments. Honor thy mother and thy father. Pay your tithes. Don't work on Sunday. Don't covet thy neighbor's wife. He says, I've done all these things since I was a child, Rabbi. What else do I need to do? And the Lord looked at him and said, well, go and sell all your earthly possessions and give the money to the poor and come and follow me. And the guy looked at Jesus like he was crazy. Came from wealth. Couldn't understand how he could help people with just his words by being poor. Ran away. That's where the saying comes from that we've all heard about. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And this is the first scripture I ever learned as a child. I'm going to share some more scriptures with y'all, just real quick. Matthew, same book. All these are in the same book. So let's just run through them real quick. Matthew 5:28. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman with lust after her has already committed adultery in his heart. Sound like anybody familiar? The kind of guy who might come up and grab a woman, maybe just starts kissing her. He can't help himself. No, does it sound like the kind of guy who would cheat on his first wife, divorce her, and marry the woman that he was having an affair with, divorce that woman, marry another woman, and then have 2 affairs with porn actresses while she was pregnant and shortly thereafter having their child? That sounds real Christ-like to me. I don't know. Let's move on. Matthew 15:4. For God said, honor thy father and thy mother, and anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. Now, I'm not much for violence, so we can disregard that last half as far as I'm concerned. The first part, honoring thy father and thy mother. Sound like the kind of guy who goes on television for decades, repeating the same lie about how his father helped him. It wasn't easy for him. You know, my father only gave me a small loan of $1 million. Turned into this empire. Which, through facts and evidence, empirically false, it's all lies. Received way more than $1 million, much less calling $1 million a small loan. Think it's honorable to lie about the generosity of your father, love he had for his son, to help you out even when you constantly bankrupted yourselves and your company? Sounds real Christian-like. I don't know. How about Matthew 22:35 through verse 40? Or Mark 12, verse 28 through 34? Luke chapter 10, verse 27. They all say pretty much the same thing. It's one of the few times that the majority of the Gospels all align. Jesus said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Sure does sound like Donald J. Trump, right? Loving thy neighbor. You know, neighbors, they're all rapists and murderers and drug dealers. Kind of pour across our borders. Terrorists coming to kill us in our sleep. Sounds real Christ-like. These people, these billionaire, millionaire supporters call themselves Christians. They're not. I don't know what they are, but they're not Christians by any measure that I know of. They're carpetbaggers, interlopers. Get yourselves a dictionary, guys, look it up. They're not one of us. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. You think it's okay to measure the value of a person's life by what side of an imaginary line that they were born on? That's not a Christian thing as far as I'm concerned. Sit there and watch a child die sick and alone. Say, well, shouldn't have come here illegally. Doesn't sound like something Jesus would say to me. Support Trump, why? Because he'll be tough on immigration? Keep these bad people out? Or maybe it's because he'll allow Mitch McConnell to keep stuck in the courts with judges to try to overturn Roe v. Wade so you can get rid of abortion. Which I don't get, man. I get that you're Christian and life is sacred to you, sacred to me. But I don't understand how you think that because something you don't feel is personally right for you, a personal decision that you've made for yourself, that you have the right to control what another person is able to do with their own body. Something that affects them far greater than it will ever affect you. Before and after the decision is made. Doesn't sound like a Christian thing to me. A man who evades paying his taxes. I remember saying, or hearing Jesus say in a story that render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render what is God's God. I don't know, guys. Maybe it's something we should all think about at this holiday season. What we're grateful for. And what it really means to us to have these freedoms. Especially the freedom to think for ourselves. Anyways, Merry Christmas. Those of you who aren't Christians, happy holidays. Wish everybody out there the best, you and your families, your loved ones. Again, y'all have a great night. Thanks for watching.